Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn, and the final episode of Event Comics Month 6, Last Siege of the Forever Wars. Well, it had to happen eventually. Both DC and Marvel love to reuse words for their big crossover events. For DC, it's Crisis. For Marvel, it's Secret and Wars. Naturally, it had come up that they just reused the damn title entirely. Originally, Secret Wars 2015 didn't start out as an event comic. Jonathan Hickman wanted to do a weird book where everybody dies in every issue of the book, but in a different reality. Editor Tom Brevoort thought the idea needed to be wrapped up in a high-concept thing, and they should just call it Secret Wars. I mean, considering the original Secret Wars was named just because the words tested well in focus groups, I guess the name doesn't really hold any sacred value, does it? They did refine the idea that the book would be about the Illuminati dealing with massive interdimensional battles with alternate universes, but doing it without anyone knowing it was happening. Hence, Secret Wars. Hilariously, it would be the first time the title was actually used in a way that actually worked with the plot. Certainly better than Secret Wars 2. And yeah, some of you have been calling this Secret Wars 3, which I think would be an accurate title, except they actually made Secret Wars 3. Sort of. Instead of a big crossover event, it was a Fantastic Four storyline. Long story short, they gave a new origin for the Beyonder as a sentient cosmic cube, that the Molecule Man was part of him. It was a bunch of exposition dump about retcons to the characters for reasons I don't understand. Like, Secret Wars 2 sucked, but who was like, oh god, we can't have the Molecule Man running around or the possibility of bringing the Beyonder back. Let's just make them a cosmic cube. They can do anything! So yeah, Secret Wars 2015 is more like Secret Wars 4, but in truth, I just give it the year. Like Star Trek 2009. The year helps establish what we're talking about. But yeah, let's talk about this event, and I'll try to sum up as best as I can, because this is a story that was building up over the course of multiple event comics, one leading to the next and to the next. But here's the major detail. The Illuminati reunite when they discover that the multiverse is dying. Something, be it accident or by design, is causing Earths from different realities to smash into each other. Once an incursion between two universes begins, there are only 8 hours before the collision. But a world can be spared if the other Earth is destroyed. The problem is becoming exponential. The more Earths that are destroyed, the faster the rest begin to go. The Illuminati do succeed in using the Infinity Gems to stop a single incursion, but the gems end up shattered in the attempt. Moral conflicts abound as the Illuminati are forced to destroy other Earths, break up over their various dark actions, and world after world in the multiverse are lost. Except for two. The main Marvel universe and the Ultimate Universe. And this was the end of the old Ultimate Universe. The universe had been in decline sales-wise since Ultimatum, despite attempts to relaunch it, so Secret Wars was used as a way to bring it to its actual end. Aside from the incursion starting to affect them as well, the big plot detail to talk about is Ultimate Reed Richards. Many were keen to laugh and laugh and laugh for my old Ultimate Power reviews, where I praised Ultimate Reed Richards as being kind and wanting to do right by the rest of his version of the Fantastic Four. See, it turns out, in an almost Hal Jordan or Cassandra Cain-esque twist, the creators decided, hey, what if we just turned Ultimate Reed Richards into a completely unhinged supervillain right the hell out of nowhere, and he kills a bunch of people, and we give him a stupid helmet? Yeah, I didn't know about this at the time of those reviews, since I'm admittedly more of a DC guy, and even less of an Ultimate Universe guy. I mean, if I had heard that he had become a supervillain in the Ultimate Universe, my first instinct would be to assume that he turned into a cannibal. That's the reputation of the Ultimate Universe to me. He redubs himself The Maker and exclaims that he wants to create a better world or improve his own universe or whatever megalomaniacal scheme he was coming up with. But that brings us back to the lead up to Secret Wars. The moral quandary split the Illuminati up and they all tried to work on the incursion problem in their own ways. Namor, being the most pragmatic and perfectly happy to destroy other worlds to save his own, teams up with a group of powerful supervillains and forms his own cabal to try to destroy the other incursion Earths. He gets disgusted with the other villains relishing the task, while he just sees it as a necessary evil. Revealing all this to Dr. Doom in the hope of joining forces with him as an alternative, but Doom being Doom, decides to go deal with this himself, recruiting the Molecule Man. With him, they discover the larger scheme at play. A race of Beyonders. The one the Marvel heroes had encountered in Secret Wars was an infant of their race, the Trelane of their group, if you get my Star Trek reference. And they were doing a grand experiment. Oh, not with the incursions. Their experiment was the Molecule Man. With their godlike power, they decided to see what would happen if the multiverse all exploded at once.
Why? Because it's science, that's why.
They created the incident that turned Owen Reese into the Molecule Man in every possible parallel world and set them all to blow up, taking their worlds with them exactly 25 years after they were imbued with the Molecule Man's power. Doom and the Molecule Man decided to do something about it. Killing the other Molecule Men would sabotage the Beyonders' plans, so they're going from Earth to Earth killing them. And considering there were supposed to be nearly infinite parallel worlds, this really is a case of no kill like overkill. However, somehow doing this caused the incursions to begin happening. Kind of weird predestination paradox kind of thing. And Doom arranged a whole big plan to help things along, all so he could confront the Beyonders, believing them to not be as all-powerful as they claimed, since otherwise they would have stopped him from ever getting to this point. Doctor Strange, who he was expositing all this to, goes with him and Molecule Man to confront the Beyonders, while Namor's Cabal met up with the Maker and set their own plan in motion. And that brings us to where we are for this story. The Marvel Earth and the Ultimate Marvel Earth are a short time away from colliding, so let's dig into Secret Wars 2015 and see how this all got resolved.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. What's with these awkward subjects? What's all this art so rubbish? To anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he is a man, punch, sporadically a grouch. Linkara, he has his own spaceship, but he's always on his couch. Linkara, ghosts, gods, a universe in flux. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
We've got 9 issues of the story, and the scans are from a trade, so no looking at the covers in depth. But I will say that uniquely, Alex Ross did the art for them. Although sadly, while I'm normally a big fan of Alex Ross's work, only issue 3s do I really like. The others are either a bit too chaotic or plain for me. Still, considering the multiverse stuff, cast of hundreds, crisis-esque nature of this event, and the first time Marvel's ever really done anything like that, having Ross do the covers was an appropriate choice. We open with Doom, Doctor Strange, and the Molecule Man in the realm of the Beyonders. We know so much more than we understand, but we know so little.
Why do they spend so much of the intervening time wearing digital watches?
Many believe the white light you see when you die is the supercharged electric whimper of a desperate and dying brain. I think it's just a frozen screen that you need to remove the battery for so it can finally reset. That brilliant, blinding light is God, and he has been with us all along. Yeah, well, then he can pay for his gas like everyone else in this carpool. We are beyond! Dreamers, destroyers, all of reality our whim! Your call is very important to us, but all of our agents are with other customers at the moment. Who dares stand before us? I, Doom. Doom has been waiting in line for 2 hours despite having purchased a VIP pass! We cut over to the Ultimate Universe, where the Maker is briefing Nick Fury about the incursions. He makes it clear, they're the last Earths out there, so if they want their universe to live, their only hope is to destroy the main Marvel Earth. It's hard for them to trust the Maker, given all he's done to them, especially when he looks like he started making a framework for a Xenomorph cosplay and then just gave up after a bit. But it's Fury's job to protect the world, so right now this is their best shot for survival. He orders everything S.H.I.E.L.D. has to attack the Marvel Earth. And we soon see the Maker discussing why they're doing this to the Cabal. With all the other universes dead, the time for the incursion is sped up. Instead of 8 hours, they have less than 1 hour, and the Maker doesn't believe just destroying the other Earth will actually stop the incursion at this point. He just needs the forces of both Earths distracted while he completes his plan. Thanos is unimpressed. You humans and your unseemly theatrics. There is no honor in running from death, only in running to death. Who finally agreed to go to couples counseling with me. The non-supervillain Reed Richards narrates how they informed the world leaders about what's going on and how, well, they're screwed, and to tell the people of the world what they wanted about it. World leaders tried to reassure the populace that while the world was in danger, they were working to solve the problem. In reality, Reed and several others have been constructing a lifeboat, a small craft that they can use to save the people they'll need to resurrect humanity when this is all over. It's not a huge group, and some even decided to stay behind and die with their families, but Reed accounted for that possibility. Said designated survivors are on their way to the Baxter building, but have to dodge a lot of explosions and battles along the way. Speaking of battles, the battle in Manhattan is of course where we find most of the heroes fighting. People like Spider-Man, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist are rescuing civilians, while Captain Marvel and the Guardians of the Galaxy engage Ultimate Iron Man. Even Sentinels are dispatched to fight on behalf of the Marvel Universe, directed by Scott Summers protecting some large floating container. Ultimate Nick Fury's helicarrier gets taken down by the Hulk, She-Hulk, Colossus, and Nightcrawler. It's actually kind of brutal how outclassed the Ultimate Universe is in this fight. Almost feels like a metaphor for how one was doing versus the other within their books. Nick Fury contacts the Maker, saying that whatever doomsday weapon he's got, he'd better use at this point. Within the Maker City, he launches some kind of ships out to do their part against the Marvel Earth. But who should happen to be around near said city but Miles Morales, who sneaks into the Maker's base via the launch doors. Meanwhile, the Kingpin sends out a group email to a bunch of supervillains, inviting them all to drink booze and watch the end of the world. But wouldn't you know it? There's a party crasher, the Punisher, who wants to make sure his bullets don't go to waste. Don't worry about it. There's a sale tomorrow at the... Oh, right. The ship carrying the resurrection team is shot down. Those in the lifeboats initiate their backup plan, a mutant named Manifold who can bend and fold the universe. Enhanced by a machine in the Baxter building, he's able to teleport everyone that will be needed to the life raft. And what a coinky-dink! It's all superheroes that we're familiar with. I guess it's easy to fold the universe when it's so small. Included in that is Cyclops, who opened the floating container to reveal the Phoenix Egg, taking on the Phoenix Force inside himself. As the life raft, which, to tie this into the original Secret Wars, resembles the constructs the heroes and villains were transported to Battleworld in by the Beyonder, launches, it seems the Maker had the same idea. His true plan was to finish up his raft with the Cabal, which also launches. Unfortunately, the hero's raft still has to travel through the incursion point, and there's a hull breach, taking out the section that had the rest of the Fantastic Four and Reed's kids. He tries to save them, but can't reach them in time before they're lost, and thus both Earths collide and the universes are destroyed. You spend your entire life looking for that one perfect someone, and when you find her, you think you'll never love anything more. So in reality, the two Earths were just romantically kissing. Then you have children, and you realize what a fool you were to believe that. Especially when she got the kids in the divorce. And now, I have lost everything. Well, screw you too, Reed Richards. Nice to know how you really feel about our friendship. But yeah, the ending page is this little in memoriam style thing for both universes. Not sure why they chose to use the Punisher symbol for this, but maybe it's going to turn out he was the real villain of the whole event. On to issue 2. We witness a ceremony where a man in his underwear tries to lift Mjolnir from a stone, and succeeds. However, he's not the only one worthy of Thor. We see there's an entire Thor Corps made up of others like him who have been able to lift their own hammers. Their leader, a more aged-looking figure more resembling Odin, speaks to the new recruit. You have been reborn. Worthy. Here be your 10% off coupon for the gift shop. The Thors are a security force, though speaking of justice and the law, handed down to them by the All-Father, their god, Doom. The new recruit has to undergo a physical change now, and one Thor, who seems to resemble Beta Ray Bill, encourages the recruit to tell them the story of their world. According to their mythology, Doom created the light and established the various kingdoms of this world, and divided the world up, each kingdom separated by a massive wall. Since the new Thor has never traveled beyond his own home kingdom before, they take him on a tour while we cut over to the Kingdom of Utopolis, where a group of scientists have discovered something buried in the ground. They say it was uncovered by an earthquake, but the minister who has come to check out their discovery explains that's usually said just to avoid a panic in case a Hulk, yes, there's an entire kingdom of Hulks, has gotten loose from their land and caused a rampage. But in this case, what appears to be a dead Celestial isn't what's got their attention. Rather, it's one of the lifeboats, half buried in the dirt. Geez, that was brand new, and the value of the thing had already plummeted when it left the lot. Back over to the new Thor, he's exposited to by the older Thor about how there are almost 100 or so major and minor kingdoms. The one new Thor hails from, Higher Avalon, is actually part of what they're doing now, dispensing justice. And said justice is going to be made against Bar Sinister, domain of, you guessed it, Mr. Sinister.
Baron Sinister, in accordance with the will of your maker, you have been summoned to Castle Doom to answer for the crime of discord. Thou hast too many servers in thine sidebar. They must be purged, or thou shalt surely perish.
The three are teleported to Castle Doom, where Galactus, who seems to be running an oil-rich mixture there, or else he's got quite a barbecue going, stands guard. At the court are Dr. Doom himself in an all-white outfit, Susan Storm, Valeria, the daughter of Reed and Sue, and Dr. Strange, who now goes by the Sheriff of Agamotto.
I serve as the right hand of Doom, his irrevocable voice, and the arbiter of this proceeding. As such, unless there is divine intervention, my judgment will be final. I am the law!
Valeria, stop that giggling. You know Doom has outlawed Judge Dredd references. Jim Braddock, the Baron of Higher Avalon, accuses Sinister of conspiring against his kingdom, even hiring pirates to act as intermediaries to try to protect his own reputation. Doom apparently allows each individual Baron complete control over their kingdoms, as long as they all recognize him as the higher authority. Legal challenges like this are common, sometimes ending in alliances or parts of kingdoms taken away. The actual substance of this particular conflict doesn't matter. It's really here as exposition to help explain how things work. Apparently, while normally Strange can just declare guilt or innocence, Sinister gets away with an alternative. Single combat between barons, though in this case he challenges Jim's brother Brian. He ultimately wins against Brian, but before Sinister can deliver a killing blow, Doom intervenes. However, it wasn't out of mercy. He says that Higher Avalon has been a hotbed of treachery and conspiracy to try to take him down, and the people they've interrogated have fingered Braddock as the one responsible. When Brian can't give any information about any supposed conspiracy, Doom prepares to maim him, but Jim steps forward, claiming to be the Braddock the prisoners spoke of. Doom is ready to kill the entire royal family over this, but Susan Storm encourages him to be merciful. And he agrees.
Doom may be God, but even he is still swayed by hot blonde ladies.
Instead, Jim Braddock is going to be tossed over the wall and Brian elevated to baronhood. Valeria meets with Strange, explaining about the strange object they found buried in the ground. Their initial analysis suggests something heretical, that it came from before their known universe. Strange says they have to quarantine the site immediately and stop all research. Jim Braddock, meanwhile, is given armor and leaps over the outer wall of the kingdom, right into a horde of Marvel zombies. This is an area known as the Deadlands, and we'll be seeing it again before we're done. Strange sends the old and new Thors out to secure the quarantined object. The older Thor explaining that if there is one thing that their god fears, it's the loss of believers, and a quarantine is only put up for things that cause doubt. The younger Thor is of course confused by that logic, because it is illogical. If Doom is God, then there is nothing that this object can do to change that. It's just not real. And if he's not God, then he's not worthy of their worship. But of course, the older Thor explains that it doesn't matter if it's true or not. There is an order to this universe, and they follow it. And he phrases it as,
things occur that seem to contradict the godhood of Doom,
implying already that it's fake. So the quarantine is less about uncovering the truth, but rather to prevent dissent.
It is Doom, and there is nothing lurking in the shadows that can threaten his reign. If there was, we would stand against.
You would stand against it. Except there's an inherent flaw in that idea if you guys are necessary to act in Doom's defense. And it all comes down to that iconic quote from a bad Star Trek movie.
What does God need with a starship?
Speaking of starships, one of the scientists touches the lifeboat and it automatically opens up. And the older Thor is stabbed and blasted multiple times by the Cabal. The Maker can't really make heads or tails of the readings he's getting of this world, explaining that they were in stasis for quite a while. Thanos picks up one of the scientists and demands to know where they are. And the scientist gives the name of this place, Battleworld. And we even get a little map of the world and its various lands. We can see what a chaotic place this is. Spider Island, the Hydra Empire, 2099, the Domain of Apocalypse, but most insane of all, Greenland! Actually, you want to know how we can really tell that Doom isn't a god? Because Kingdom number 17 is labeled Marvel. Proof positive that Doom is no god. He is, in fact, the devil. So yeah, on to issue 3. Strange reads a report of recent occurrences to Doom, who questions why he feels the need to document all the minor transgressions against him. Strange points out they kinda need to keep track of potential dangers to him. He may be omnipotent, but he's not omniscient, and something could very well hit them unexpectedly. Doom thinks they can just face stuff head-on as it happens. You know, for someone who keeps wanting to take over the world, you seem really bored with all the day-to-day admin necessary to run the world, dude. What did you expect? You take over and then just say, "Yeah, I'm the king! Let's knock off early and go to the bar!" The two walk and talk, Strange talking about how this could have all gone a different way. He remembers what it was before this world, and that he could have been a god instead of Doom, but he didn't want it. "But I do remember, and know how precious what we have left is, so I guard it fiercely. We lost potato cakes once before. My heart cannot bear to lose them again." Doom says he has full confidence in Strange, who begins to tell him about the object they discovered, but then gets word about the Cabal's exit from the lifeboat and the death of the Elder Thor. Traveling back to the site, they deduce how many exited the craft, how strong and how fast they are, and how they need to be stopped sooner rather than later. He dispatches the Thors out, save for the new recruit, telling the Thors to bring him someone to question, but then calls out to the craft, admitting that his magic could sense he's aboard. And who should pop out but Miles Morales, who had hidden himself on the lifeboat after everything went down. He also mentions seeing the incursion, which gets Strange's undivided attention. We cut back over to Doom, who sees Susan Storm looking out on the castle.
"Did you know there are tales of old, long-forgotten myths, of mortals building great towers so they could be closer to God?"
And that there's an entire debate about how to pronounce the tower's name, either Babel or Babel. They are both technically correct, really dependent upon how you first heard it and regional dialects and whatnot. And no, the word Babel does not etymologically derive from the tower like you might think. Because, you know, there was a whole thing in the comments last time about this. Doom observed it. Susan discusses how she overheard some people singing a song about a man in the sun and recalls how her brother defied Doom and was turned into the sun as punishment, one chosen by Susan so that he could bring light to a dark world. He says that she's the only one who knows his vulnerability, in that he wasn't always a god, but also that so much dissidence is in this world that he made simply because he fails to properly inspire them.
"I am a poor god. I think now that once having made the world, I should have removed myself. Perhaps the gods of old had it right. It is better to be unseen, demanding faith, and beyond being defined by the mundane." On the other hand, though, I've got this sweet outfit going for me, so being a god worked out for me in that regard.
He also still can't heal his face despite his godlike power, which I suspect is more psychosomatic on his part, since of course he was able to do so with the original Beyonder's power. Susan says she fell in love with him for his mind and heart and not his face, and probably not her face. There's something really uncanny about her face in this panel. He worries about them seeing his damaged face, but she thinks they'll see a god with great love for his people. A god who designed this world, and then decided to include zombies in it. Strange teleports himself, Thor, and Miles to his hidden island, his Sanctum Sanctorum, explaining that he's tried to make the place a haven for remembering everything that was lost. He's seen duplicates of his old friends across Battleworld, but now the life raft they found containing people from before all this confirms something else for him. See, he actually has the other life raft in the Sanctum. He has the young Thor open it, revealing the heroes immediately after we last saw them at the end of the first issue. They confirm that they're from the same Earth. Strange explains things are complicated now, what with Dr. Doom being a god and stuff, who created this world out of the remnants of various other parallel universes that were destroyed by incursions. And it's been like that for 8 years now. Like with the Cabal, the heroes were in stasis all that time. In fact, Strange found their life raft 3 years ago, but didn't want to open it since he feared what would happen if what was inside was released.
"We made a world without Katy Perry music, and there could have been more inside!"
Meanwhile, the Cabal are having themselves a little camping trip as they try to figure out their next move and what the nature of this world is. And Thanos says the answers are forthcoming given a whole bunch of Thors are now floating above them, bringing us to issue 4. While the Cabal engages the Thors, Strange exposits some more about how this world is unnatural, held together mostly by Doom's will. He explains about the Beyonders and what happened at the start, namely that they killed the Beyonders and took their power for themselves, but Strange was too terrified of possessing omnipotence, so let Doom go with it. You know, the supervillain dictator. Stephen Strange, master of the moron arts. Doom saved what he could, even a few pieces of the main Marvel Earth like some of New York and Wakanda, but that's all there is. And the simple fact is that Doom is God here. He is omnipotent, so there's no real point in denying that fact, hence why Strange just accepts it. Still, the conversation is interrupted by the Thor, who points out that his hammer is glowing, a call to arms for all the Corps because of the fight with the Cabal. The battle isn't going well for the Thors, one of whom prays directly to Doom in the hopes of informing him of all this. And indeed, Doom gets the call and decides to look into this personally. Seeing through the Thor's eyes, Doom, Susan, and Valeria see the battle, Valeria pointing out that while they've seen variations of Thanos before, never at this power level. Strange and the rest of the heroes arrive, and Valeria points out these variants aren't familiar to her. But what really gets Doom's attention is what gets Susan's attention. Reed Richards. I don't know what it is about this one, my love, but there's something different about him. Something special.
Look, Doom explained that he tried to make it stretchy too, but he was kind of exhausted after making an entire planet.
Doom whispers that he spent years looking for some variation of Reed but never found one, so he's gonna go take care of this himself. He teleports to the battle, and naturally, he's laser focused on Reed.
Richards!
Is he talking to me? I don't really care for his tone. Also, my Doom had goat legs. Why doesn't yours? Doom boasts that he did what no one else could, saved so much in the face of total annihilation.
I can't help but notice you decided to put yourself on a throne.
Yeah, we're all absolutely shocked by that. Just floored. And you don't even have Goron to help you this time. Anyone remember Goron?
Nobody remembers Goron, Spider-Man, and not just because of Battleworld.
Doom demonstrates his godhood by blasting everyone back, telling them they need to start readjusting their thinking and bow to him. But Cyclops, possessed by the power of the Phoenix, rejects this and attacks. He seems to melt away Doom's armor and body, and Doom immediately recovers and snaps his neck. Knowing how this is going to go down, Strange teleports all the heroes and the Cabal into every direction. Doom asks why he did this, and Strange knows they would never bow, so Doom would be forced to kill them. And he spent a lifetime with these people and can't allow their deaths. Doom knows they're going to try to undo all this, and Steven acknowledges that, wondering if he should do the same.
I didn't even tell him what you've done. And I'm sure he's going to be hard at work solving the problem of you. How much harder do you think Reed Richards is going to try when he finds out that you stole his entire life?
Identity theft. That's a felony.
Even with all this power, you're still afraid of him. Well, you know what, old friend? I think you should be.
And Doom vaporizes him.
How can I be afraid? I am Doom, master of the stick shift!
Moving on to issue 5, there's a funeral for Strange, and we see that the Jane Foster Thor ended up with the young Thor in the Thor Corps. Try saying that 3 times fast. That night, Doom speaks to Valeria, who's confused why her and her department are being tasked with hunting down the people who Doom claims killed Strange. Shouldn't Doom have done that himself? He claims that he's so upset and in such a state he might break the world. She says that in order to hunt them down, she needs to know everything that happened in the battle, but he evades the question, just saying that he trusts her to carry it out as his daughter. When she leaves, he goes over to a statue of the Molecule Man and uncovers a hidden entrance. Traveling inside, we find that the Molecule Man is indeed there and quite alive. Did you bring me something to eat?
I'm sorry, I did not. It didn't occur to me. I had other things on my mind. Doom shall order a pizza for you! Do you like mushrooms? Doom likes mushrooms.
Molecule Man just kind of rambles for a bit about how hungry he is. If I don't eat something soon, I'll just be skin and bones.
Stephen Strange is dead.
Good! I'll eat him then! Molecule Man recounts what happened with the Beyonders. How they grew so bored with playing around and manipulating, they started liking death more, and then Doom and Owen did the whole killing all the Molecule Men across space and time thing, but they didn't account for the possibility that Owen here would grow increasingly insane the more they did it. Then they used the combined power of all the Molecule Men they killed to destroy the Beyonders, but it was too late. The multiverse was still doomed, so the only thing they could do is preserve some of what was left of it. Doctor Strange couldn't fathom choosing who and what to save, so said Doom had to do it. Doom is the only thing holding all these realities together, so if he's brought down, everything else goes with him. Next time, bring me something to eat. What the? Hardee's? I told you I needed something to eat, not an Epicac! Valeria, leading the science division of the kingdom, and also I recognize that weird magnet-shaped building from the original Secret Wars they're based out of, nice, directs her team to hunt for the people who supposedly killed Strange, though they all recognize that some of the evidence they have is unusual, like how Strange seemed to be the one to scatter all of them. Valeria says they're going to take this to the end of the line no matter where it goes, giving us a montage of what happened to the scattered characters, like Jane Foster with the Thors, Namor and Black Panther teaming up, Mr. Sinister capturing Captain Marvel, etc. Issue 6 begins 3 weeks later. Doom still has not ordered a pizza for the Molecule Man. Valeria gives a report to Doom about their findings, but it's not great news, especially as we learn that open rebellion against Doom has begun in several kingdoms. 2 of the Cabal were captured by Apocalypse in his kingdom, and they were able to read their minds to get some info. Black Swan, the character who first informed the Illuminati of the incursions, was actually a Doom worshipper, and she had survived with the Cabal, now rejoining him in this world. Otherwise, they have had zero luck hunting down anyone else. With her team, Valeria admits that she feels like she's being lied to, particularly by Doom, especially when her team informs her that they've discovered the source of Doom's power, and she's currently standing on top of it, the monument to the Molecule Man. The only other thing they found is a spherical probe drone, and it's very clearly a probe built by the Maker, similar to the ones we saw in Ultimate Power, hopefully with less tracing this time. Who's building this crap? There are like 3 burrito wrappers in here, and that looks like half of a Wiimote. It's not even plugged into anything! We cut over to the Maker and Reed Richards, who apparently have met up and are now hanging out inside what I think is a dead Celestial. The Maker is determined to destroy Doom, but Reed has worked out that if they kill Doom, something may happen to this world, so he feels like they need to figure all that out first. While they're not fighting each other, they're not exactly coordinating with each other very well. A figure known as the Prophet has apparently started raising an army to overthrow Doom, and the Maker won't admit if he's behind the Prophet or not. It makes me wonder, if I confessed all of my secret plans, would you also tell me yours? No, of course you wouldn't. Who could ever truly understand the machinations that go on inside that head of yours? You know, I look at your face, which is my face, and I see the age on it. I wonder how it became so sentimental, so soft, so weak.
It's easy, Reed, when you learn to care about things other than yourself.
The book is just trying to make me look like an idiot in regards to my comments about Ultimate Reed now. You think Ultimate Reed ever told the main one how he was tricked by an image of him once to travel to a zombie world? Regardless of whether they killed Doom or not, they need to find the source of his power. Reed saying he has his best people working on it. Given how they had all been scattered a few weeks ago, I'm pretty sure they're his only people, Miles and Peter. As the two search for the source of Doom's power, they also find Valeria. Peter recognizes her, but of course she doesn't know him or Reed. She knows they're looking for the same thing as her, and she's found a trap door, but she's decided she doesn't want to go inside. She's smart enough to know that she's not emotionally prepared for the revelations that going inside will give her, especially if it means her dad has been lying to her. She shows them the trap door, but wants to know if anyone in the life raft killed Strange. And of course, Spidey confirms that they didn't. Right, I didn't think so. One contradiction in my dad's story, and I am heavily disillusioned. Man, I'm easily swayed. Traveling into the void, they of course find the Molecule Man. Did you bring me something to eat? I didn't actually know there would be someone down here. I didn't. I'm sorry. No, Owen, I don't have anything. Doom promised me pizza weeks ago. I could have walked and gotten it by now. Come to think of it, why am I just in here? However, it turns out Miles does have some food on him. A fast food burger, still in its wrapper. How do you forget you have a hamburger in your pocket? We've been busy. It's a hamburger. Our outfits are skin tight. Where have you been hiding that thing? It's also at least 3 weeks old since it came from his old Earth. Molecule Man is eating the last fast food to ever come from the Ultimate Universe. I should have tried to eat Miles instead. Would have been more thematically appropriate with their Earth. Owen confirms that he's the source of Doom's power. Meanwhile, the higher kingdoms that rule under Doom confirm the Prophet's growing army is going to be an issue.
I hold the heavens up just so the earth can tremble beneath me. Damn you again, Stephen, for leaving me with all this.
Look, dude, it's your fault for disregarding all of Strange's reports. Plus, it's been 3 weeks. You're not a very good boss if you haven't hired someone to take the job by now. Carol Danvers is apparently working alongside Sinister, though I don't know to what degree. She has the red diamond on her head, but Sinister keeps suggesting how many troops they should send to fight the Prophet, and she just keeps punching him. And mind you, I don't mind Mr. Sinister getting punched, just that since I haven't read the tie-ins that probably explain this, I don't know what's going on here other than Carol liking his suggestion that they be naughty. Which, due to my ignorance, might just be them doing a sex thing instead of following Doom's orders. In any case, Namor and Black Panther managed to return to Strange's hidden island, Strange apparently having left them the Eye of Agamotto to act as a key.
Greetings, traveler. You have been chosen to form an elite group to battle Rita. If you have found this, my sanctum sanctorum, It means you have braved the World Sea, the Great Leviathan Horde, and the Hidden Isle itself. If you're an Amazon delivery person, just leave it in the box outside. There will be a tip waiting for you. A password security system is also in place in case he was murdered for the eye, and of course they're able to pass it. He left behind 2 powerful artifacts to whoever made their way here. The first is the Siege Courageous, an object that can teleport you anywhere you want to go. The other is an Infinity Gauntlet. Now, Battleworld is a patchwork of different worlds, so it doesn't function on most of it, but Strange did make sure that Doomstad, Doom's castle, was built on the area where the Infinity Gems resided, so it should work there. Use it wisely, and if you must, use it quickly, for it just may be the only thing on this world with which one can smite God. If not, then at least it will look cool on your YouTube reviewer shelf.
Later, Susan has to put Franklin to bed and he wants to hear the story of the Fantastic Four. In this version, it was her dad who came along on the voyage and was killed in battle, but the rest were saved by Doom. She also says that what happened to Ben Grimm is a story for another day, but we see soon enough what happened to him. He's been transformed into the Shield, the wall that protects the kingdom, but he's having a conversation with, of all people, Thanos, who has been captured by their forces and is telling him the real truth about his existence.
I'm telling you that your God put you here to keep you out of the way, because he fears you. He fears you letting Franklin play more video games and then getting whisked away to another planet because the game was actually a test by aliens fighting Pac-Man. It was a whole thing.
Thanos convinces him to rise up and stop being the Shield, leading us to issue 7. Prophet's rebellion has reached Doom's castle, and he's revealed to be Maximus, Black Bolt's brother and one of the Cabal. So kinda makes sense one of them would be behind the open rebellion. You followed me here to certain doom, to the very end of all that is, and it's going to be so much fun! Unleash the Frisbees, and prepare the Super Soakers for combat! Doom, Susan, and Valeria are watching this unfold, and apparently this isn't the first time a rebellion like this has happened. Susan reassures him that it's just natural that free people, when confronted with authority, will rebel against it, and that they'll defeat it just like every other time this has happened. But both Doom and Valeria can sense this is different. Turns out this whole thing is a big coordinated attack. The Maker and Reed are going to use the Prophet as a distraction, while they are piloted by Star-Lord into the castle secretly. Still, if the Prophet's army isn't big enough, they have T'Challa and Namor. T'Challa's got troops from Wakanda, but apparently events had unfolded back before all this started that made the Black Panther the King of the Dead. And he decides to put that to the test as he blows a hole in the wall at the edge of the shield and summons the Marvel zombie hordes. They open up the Siege Courageous portal, and T'Challa gives a speech to the dead, saying that anyone who passed through it will be given a second chance at life, for glory and honor. And you know that he must really be the Lord of the Dead, since traditionally Marvel zombies are insatiable in their hunger and would just be attacking him for his tasty meat. Speaking of, they hesitate to go through, even when compelled, just because, as Zombie MODOK says, they think they've got a good thing going here. And Namor puts a trident through Zombie MODOK's head to demonstrate how their good thing could be significantly worse. Yeah, sure, King of the Dead is spooky and all, but everyone always underestimates the King of the Fish people. The Prophet's army begins breaking, so Captain Marvel orders Sinister's forces to turn on Doom and their other allies. What's more, Jane Foster and the young Thor have convinced a good chunk of the Thor army that Doom is a false god and now leads them into attacking Doom as well. More forces enter the picture, though in the confusion, Star-Lord's ship crashes into the castle at a different point than they had intended. There are just lots of moments during this. Ben Grimm refusing to fight Galactus because Franklin is directing him and he won't risk hurting the kid and getting blasted. Thanos taking the Annihilation Horde to begin an attack as well, and Valeria decides to lead her mother down someplace to show her something. Black Swan attacks Star-Lord while he's fixing the ship, the two Reeds having left to do their part of the plan. But fortunately, Star-Lord isn't alone. The toothpick he's been chewing on gets jammed into the life tree at the center of Doom's castle and summons Groot. Valeria brings Susan to the entrance of Molecule Man's chamber, where the Reeds are trying to gain entrance.
Valeria, I suppose I shouldn't be surprised. Hello, Susan.
Ooh, always awkward running into your ex when you're just trying to do an errand. Thanos confronts Doom, balking at the idea of saving when he could. When he had godlike power, he did it differently.
No, I wielded them as a god should, in judgment of all living things.
Dude, you murdered a bunch of living beings because you wanted to get to third base with death. Don't pretend there was something higher at play with you. Doom kills Thanos and orders Annihilus to turn the Horde against all his enemies, but that's when the zombies come in, along with the Infinity Gauntlet-wielding Black Panther. Doom does his standard spiel, join me and we'll restore what we lost, etc., etc. But of course the Infinity Gauntlet gives T'Challa power at least close to Doom's, so the battle wages on for several pages while Susan and Reed meet. Reed of course denying that he killed Strange, and that he intends to end the farce that Doom has put on. Who are you, really?
My name is Reed Richards, and I'm the one who fixes things. I'm an IT specialist.
The two Reeds enter the Molecule Man's space. 3 guesses what he's talking about. Did you bring me something to eat, Reeds? You know, you're the one with godlike powers. Why aren't you summoning up a Burger King already? And now is the time for the Maker to show his hand. He uses a device to create a temporal bubble around Reed, which de-evolves him back into a primordial ape, explaining that he wants the powers of a god for himself, and he won't tolerate the weakness he saw Reed exhibit when he saw Susan. Really, Reed? Who's interested in a weepy god? Me? I mean, I'm a god, and I've been to therapy. Plus, my wife left me, so, you know, I get it. He turns the Maker into slices, reverts Reed back to normal, then tells him he'd better get ready because Doom will be here soon. T'Challa, beaten, admits to Doom that this was all a distraction. Doom teleports to the statue, Susan demanding to know if this was all lies, but Doom doesn't really have time for this.
Richards! You had to meddle, didn't you? Of course you did! You're a meddler! Doom made sure that Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Incorporated gang would not be here! And the same will be of you, Richards!
Reed explains that he came down here to give the Molecule Man a better alternative than Doom's vision of reality. But Doom just decides to snap his fingers to finally rid himself of Reed, and it doesn't work. Did you bring me something to eat, Victor?
No.
Then that makes the two of you equal, doesn't it? I have been waiting for that pizza for a month, Victor! Thus the two fight each other with only their normal abilities, Reed pointing out how full of it Doom is. That for all his talk of saving people and how oh so tough it is to be a god, the first thing Doom did was steal Reed's life, making his wife and children be his instead of Reed's. And for all the good that he did do to save reality, he's so afraid of losing it that he's not willing to try to do anything else but survive. Doom rants that it all comes down to Reed thinking that he's better than him, that if he had the godlike power, that he'd somehow do a better job of it. And Reed says, yeah, obviously, and they both know it. Doom angrily says yes, but since they both agree on that then, Molecule Man gives Reed the power. Battleworld is destroyed, and the regular Marvel Universe is restored. Black Panther finding himself back during the events of where they first learned about the incursion. And things go a lot better this time around. We cut to 8 months later, where we see that Miles Morales is now part of the regular Marvel Earth, mainly because the Ultimate Universe doesn't exist anymore. A flashback revealing that this is the Molecule Man's doing, his way of saying thank you for the burger. Man, if a 3-week-old burger allows you and your family to survive Armageddon, what would some fresh chicken tenders have gotten them? Peter and Miles swing off to do their thing, and Valeria explains to her mom how they're restoring the multiverse. The Molecule Man has the raw power, Reed directs that power, and Franklin's infinite imagination and ideas will help create entire universes for them to split off and form their own realities. Part of the Molecule Man splitting off with them to act as a kind of universal anchor, in turn restoring his sanity. And that's just the start of what we're doing. All of this has to be cataloged, recorded, explored. 3 weeks later, it turns out Franklin got bored after 7 universes and just kept making hundreds of realities made out of mustard because he thought it'd be funny. Unfortunately, this means that they're not going to be hanging around the Marvel Universe for a while. The family is going off with the rest of the Future Foundation to, well, make the foundations of the future. All realities. Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm will not be accompanying them. They have too much going on in their own lives, but now Reed, the man who fixes things, is gonna fix so much more. And he's already started. I learned that the difference between living and dying is managing fear. Give fear a raise when it does a good job, not being afraid of losing the things you love that you hold them too tight. Consequently, sorry that I broke your ribs earlier when I hugged you, honey. And so our comic ends with the reveal that one of the things that he fixed was Dr. Doom, restoring his face to normal, and he starts laughing. This comic is actually pretty good. In many ways, the plot is basically House of M, just executed better for the main event miniseries. The world is altered into an unrecognizable variation where society is vastly different and a supervillain is in charge. And while it's not a great world, it's one that's not the worst place to live in, and ultimately they need the being with reality-warping powers to restore it to the way it was. It's certainly paced much better than House of M. The slow destruction of everything Doom has built up, partially because of his refusal to exercise his godlike power, either because of Susan Storm's influence, or because he knows that constantly doing that will just breed more resentment. The build-up to the whole thing helps sell what a universe-ending event the start was, and while we have all these huge battles and different aspects of the Marvel Universe all coming together in a massive slugfest, it really just comes down to two mortal enemies fighting each other until the better man wins. The tie-ins focus on a lot of exploring this version of Battleworld, different kingdoms with variations of those we're familiar with, different Marvel events or miniseries happening in their own little kingdoms, like Age of Ultron versus Marvel Zombies. Deadpool, of course, was the funniest use of the tie-ins, in that he was not present during any of this. Instead, Deadpool's Secret Wars is a retcon miniseries where Deadpool is present during the original Secret Wars, and seeing how that plays out with him there. Sure, a lot of the stuff that gets introduced early on, like the Thor Corps or the Cabal's efforts, are reserved mostly for the tie-ins, but these glimpses of everything going on help build the scope of the event while not making it necessary to read the tie-ins to know what's happening. I will say that it's weird that while a lot of the build-up to Secret Wars was focused around another conflict between Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, mainly for the Illuminati wiping his mind of their existence since Steve objected to the idea of ever destroying the Earth they were doing an incursion, it's kind of weird that the ultimate fight in the story comes down to Reed Richards and Dr. Doom. Sure, I'm not objecting to that, it's just not where the build-up had been focused on. I also find it hilarious that despite this being the end of the original Ultimate Universe, they're barely a factor here. Even the Maker just gets shoved aside at the end. So, what were the effects of this? Well, the big one was, of course, Miles Morales joining in the main Marvel Universe. They were ending the Ultimate Universe, and the character was a huge success, so it makes sense to preserve him. The Fantastic Four just stopped for a while. Yeah, there was some stupid petty beef related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe not having the movie rights to the Fantastic Four. So screw you, comic book featuring Marvel's first family. They did finally return in 2018. Also, it turns out Reed altered Doom's memories to make him think Reed was dead, hoping that, free of the need to compete with him, he'd actually become a better person. And indeed, Doom attempted to reform, abdicating the throne of Latveria, even tried to become Iron Man when Tony Stark fell into a coma. Eventually, things would return to the status quo as they are wont to do. His face was scarred again, his protestations about reforming kind of fell apart after he blew up an entire alternate reality, you know the drill. Anyway, while the event is good, the book itself still had no reason to be called Secret Wars. But then again, neither did the original, so it kind of all evens out. Oh yeah, and the Maker survived, even ended up making a new, different Ultimate Universe. But that's a story for another day. Next time, I know I need to get back to Patreon-sponsored episodes, but first, we are long overdue for our annual Mr. T comic. And as such, it's time to say farewell to Mr. T and the T-Force.
I'm sitting on my couch reviewing comics, the worst words that you will ever see. It's sad that comic books are for geeks, but they're not. They're for everybody. Linkara. If you doubt that I am a man, I am a man.
Gentlemen, they say that when you die, you can't take it with you. Having been brought back as an angel that one time, I am here to inform you that I did, in fact, take these bullets with me.
Hello, my friends. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications on new video releases. If you'd like to support future videos, you can check out my Patreon, buy merch from the store envy link in the description, or check out the t-shirts available from Fourth Wall. Thanks for watching.